Hi, people. It's me again, of course. Moreno Ravenberg, as always, and as usual. Um, I am going to treat the second Pentacle of Saturn, so let's get right down to it. From the Greater Key of Solomon, and I recite Figure 12, the second Pentacle of Saturn. This pentacle is of great value against adversaries and of especial use in repressing the pride of the spirits. And then we have the editor's note. This is the celebrated Sator Arepo Tenei Opera Rhodas, or Sator Arepo Tenet or Opera Rotas. The most perfect existing form of double acrostic as far as the arrangement of the letters is concerned. It is repeatedly mentioned in the records of medieval magic, and save the very few, its derivation from the present pinnacle has been unknown. It will be seen as at a glance that it is a square of 5, giving 25 letters, which, added to the unity, gives 26, the numerical value of Yod He Vav He, so a reference to God the Almighty. The Hebrew versicle surrounding it is taken from Psalm LXXII 8. His dominion shall be also from one sea to the other, and from the flood unto the world's end. This passage also consists this passage consists also of exactly 25 letters, and its total numerical value, considering final letters with increased numbers added to that of the name Elohim, is exactly equal to the total numerical value of the 25 letters in the square. So yeah, now let's get down to it. So yeah. Um Now, this section that says that the pentacle is of great value against adversaries and of a special use in repressing the pride of spirits, of these spirits. Now, by the way, obviously the thumbnail of this video is the pentacle. Um, the pentacle, specifically how it works in terms of what it says it can do. So, being good for adversaries, by definition, people know what an adversary is. It's either an opponent or an enemy or someone similar. But of course, they don't have to be one and the same. An opponent is someone that you're hypothetically jostling with for either control of a situation or someone that stands between you and victory in some kind of contest or competition or some kind of wager or anything that can be defined as a match, as in I want to win or I want that trophy, I want that money, I want this, I want that. I need to get through this person. I need to put this person down, so to speak. That's an opponent. But of course, it's not the same as an enemy. An enemy is someone that you have a strong disliking for to the point where you do not care for the person, simplistically and bluntly put. Um, whether you're extremely put hatred or at the very least discontent for that person or towards that person is either of a personal nature or otherwise. So yeah, this pentacle helps with that. And based on my research, I also saw how the pentacle does that specifically. The pentacle has strong lunar and Martian influences that make it so that, again, anyone that knows like what the basic properties are of these planets spiritually knows that the moon deals with movement, and movement is essential to overcoming an adversary, as well as the sheer power and potency and bluntness that Mars brings to the equation overall. And let me see. And for the rest, Mars works together with strong solar influences as well, specifically Leo-based influences. So yeah, you can see for yourself. All of the aforementioned combined, the Moon, Mars, and then Leo, etc., is like boom. You can see how explosively potent something like that is towards intended purpose. Hypothetically speaking, purely as a figure of speech, you'll essentially become unstoppable. Not literally, obviously, but the intent of the pentacle is to, purely hypothetically speaking, make you unstoppable. More realistically put, to simply turn you into an ultra strong contender um, towards said purpose. Now, the second thing, repressing the pride of spirits, the same aforementioned energies, especially the Martian and Leo energy, work together. The Martian and Leo based energies that work together and essentially form one, to put it that way, they do, they essentially mainly deal with that. Of course, the moon also does its part, the lunar energy, everything as a whole. But my point is that's also how it comes about, and specifically the aforementioned Martian influences and Leo-based influences tone down or just outright pacify the pride that spirits show. For example, when any magician or occultist or similar works with spirits, and these aren't just solar spirits. Generally speaking, solar spirits have a tendency to be quite proudful or just plain proud. They display a good deal of a good deal of pride, a good sense of pride. As is also mentioned in the Greater Key of Solomon, the Order of the Pentacles. But with this pentacle, they will become more obedient, similar to the first pentacle of the Sun, with Metatron's face on it, Archangel Lord Metatron. But that pentacle does its job in a more straightforward and potent manner, whereas this pentacle more takes things in an all-rounder like mentality. So that's why it's a Saturnian pentacle. The emphasis is laid more on discipline, as in, hey, I am the disciplinarian, you obey me, period, through sheer force of will. Whereas the first Pentacle of the Sun, I'm not going to get into it, but the first Pentacle of Sun works purely through uh, godlike submission, or just plain purely works through godlike, and as well as overall works through godlike divine submission. Um, that's why Metatron's face is on it after all. Now let me see. And now we come to the double acrostic that I mentioned earlier. Um, by the way, for people that would like to know exactly what a double acrostic looks like, um, check the article linked in the description and look for the free copy of the Greater Key of Solomon, the Order of the Pentacles, and then simply move or pivot towards page 60, figure 12 specifically. And then you'll find the description I'm reading from the second Pentacle of Saturn. And then you'll see the double acrostic. It's simplistically put towards the average person, it's like a crossword puzzle, but it's arranged in four letters horizontal, sorry, five letters horizontally and also five vertically. And all of them essentially after, let's just say the first and the second word are equal to the fourth and the fifth word or phrase, but the latter, the fourth and the fifth one, are in reverse. And the middle phrase is the same thing, both from front as well as back. That's why, for example, the first phrase or word says Sator, Sator, and then the last phrase says Rotas, Rotas. They both mean the same thing when read in opposite directions, or they are the same, plainly put. And the middle one, Tene or Tenet, T-N-E Tenet, is the same. You can hear it for yourself. Spelled forwards as well as backwards, it's the same. Tene, Tenet, and the story. Um, yeah, what this specifically means, because the editor says here that it's repeatedly mentioned in the records of medieval magic. Yeah, and based on my research, I saw that it essentially was used, especially it started in the 14th century, and its use started to decline after the 18th century or with the coming of the 18th century. That's why it's mentioned, as the editor says, through medieval magic. And I think I recall that as well, albeit vaguely. I have a lot on my mind, so yeah. I think I have seen similar things or a similar, like, what you want to call this, a double acrostic. Yeah, a double acrostic. I've seen it's again similar. It's quite. It reminds me of abracadabra as a phrase seen in grimoires and whatnot. But I can't remember the who, the where, the what, the why, and the how anymore. It doesn't matter, in a manner of speaking. In any case, so yeah, that's when this double acrostic was used primarily. And in terms of the intent, that also explains why. Just like the editor says, it's unknown why it's derived from present pentacle. Its derivation from the present pentacle has been unknown. Now, this thingy, as a standalone, this double acrostic, its significance is simply a reference to not omnipotency, but God is the only one that's omnipotent, obviously. His will be done. But envelopment, let's just put it that way. The phrase I'm looking for is envelopment. The intent of this, there is for the rest no specific reason or anything like that really behind the double acrostic. Those phrases that are aforementionedly arranged as such, they simply are a reference to envelopment, as in power that can envelop the entire world without literally being omnipotent, as in dominancy. Um, Let me see. And in terms of derivation from the present pentacle, it wasn't derived from the pentacle, like specifically. It coincides with the pentacle in terms of origin. Okay, this thing already essentially existed, the double acronym, but not for long, and it was simply added to the pinnacle as a means of driving the point home, in terms of how potent that pinnacle is. Now, that's also why, unsurprisingly, you have that verse from Psalm LXXII 8, his dominion shall be also from one sea to the other, and from the flood unto the world's end. And that's also why it has the exact same letters and so on and so forth in terms of numerical value or amount of numbers and amount of letters and yada yada yada. Okay, it coincides just like the editor says with the double acronym. You see my point? In terms of intent, they both have the same thing. That's also why, unsurprisingly, the Hebrew verse around surrounding the inner ring of the pentacle, so between the inner and the outer ring, it's between the inner and the outer ring, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Says the same thing. It hints at envelopment. It hints at power so dominant that it envelops the entire world, obviously without literally being omnipotent. Just plain envelopmental dominancy, I want to say. Or dominant envelopment. Dominancy based envelopment, whatever. In any case, I hope that it's clear. See, that's the intent of this pentacle, and that's the power and that's therefore the power that it brings to the table, to put it that way. Oh, let me see if there is anything else I missed. No, and for the rest, the double acronym has worked in the same fashion as most magical implements and or rituals and or things that help people, most magical conditions or occult-based factors or elements in the world. Um, as is the case by default for the aforementioned, the double acronym, when it was invented, like I said, the intent has already been specified. So with the aforementioned intent, um, the through repeated use, it's become automatically stronger. So they had like these words and whatnot, and that's also why they essentially, like I said, the words they mirror each other perfectly, coming to the center. It stands for envelopment, as in enveloping the entire world. And the person that created it, regardless of whom that was, whether it was Solomon literally or anyone else, I don't honestly, off the top of my head, I don't really think that that's the case. But it was a really strong magician either way, and or was derived from Solomon, as is the case by default, honestly. Either way, it that's what it hints at. It hints at, like I said, dominancy-based envelopment or envelopmental dominancy, whatever. In any case, envelopment. Power so potent that it envelops the entire world through sheer just that potency. And of course, through repeated use, like I said, this is the case by default. Something gets stronger cult-wise the more it gets used or made use of, and then it's only a matter of time. That's what adds it. So on the one hand, you have like potency. On the other hand, you have literally like experience. It's like someone that is already like really knowledgeable on what they do profession wise, like a bookkeeper. And then a bookkeeper on top of all of that has like 10 years worth of experience. Obviously, someone like that is invaluable, so to speak, on the labor market. In that same context, considering the fact that this thing has existed for so long, then yeah, unsurprisingly, it's added to a pinnacle, or it was added at some point, which only adds further to its potency, in conjunction with the Hebrew letters that more or less, or just plain intent-wise, serve the same function. So it's quote unquote double trouble, but in a good constructive way. Let's see, is there anything else? No, that's how this pentacle works. And I already said why it is essentially added to Saturn. This is actually a constructive pentacle that doesn't literally deal with necessary negativity, but more for one of the main things that Saturn spiritually stands for, which is discipline and envelopment, you know, quite similar to Saturn's underlying or submissive zodiac sign. So the zodiac signs it rules over Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorn, one of the things standing for hard work, ambition, and discipline, and Aquarius standing for the masses, as in something that applies to an element or factor that has a profound or just plain impact, a grandiose impact, or just overall impact in any case on a host of people, not necessarily the entire world, but uh, a host of people in any case. Okay, a myriad or a plethora of people, the masses, simply put. Let me see. Is there anything else? No, that's it. That's all, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.